What's going on, everybody? It's your boy Shuggy from Shook Earth Media, and today we are back with The Last of Us Episode 7. This is another self-contained story. It's based off of the Left Behind DLC, and for those who are non-gamers, DLC is basically an add-on, something that comes out after the game is released, something that you pay a smaller price for. It's a little extra content. It's not supposed to be main story content. It's not supposed to really add that much gameplay. It's just supposed to be, if you're a fan of it, here's a little bit extra. So in that vein, when the DLC originally came out, I skipped it, actually. I read reviews. I was like, okay, it doesn't really add anything new gameplay wise. It adds some backstory stuff that we already know what happened, and it just seems like a non-essential story. We know how Ellie got bit and all of that. We know the backstory of everything. We know her friend Riley died and all that. We knew everything that happened in this episode before a single frame was even shot of this episode, and that's still my feeling on it. That's an unessential story, and I got to admit, I was a little bit bored in this episode. I was checking my watch, waiting for it to be over. Like I said, I didn't play it originally, and then before replayed the original Last of Us game to prepare for reviewing this show, and I finally played this DLC. I actually got out my PS3 and I bought it on my PS3, if you can believe that, on a really old console. And I played it, I was like, yeah, that was okay. It was honestly kind of disappointing. I was hoping for a little bit more out of it, and it was not really. I was like, I was right the first time to skip it. That's still my opinion on this episode. You guys might disagree, and that's fine. We're gonna break it down bit by bit, but if you're enjoying these Last of Us reviews and Walking Dead reviews, definitely keep it locked on Shook Earth Media, and I would love to hear your opinions in the comment section down below. I'm not gonna be just hating on this episode. We're gonna praise a couple things here and there, so definitely, if you disagree, that's fine, and hopefully next week we'll get back to the main story, and then we'll agree a little bit more. But yeah, so that's my overall feeling on the episode. It's an unessential story, and when I played it recently, I was like, you know what? That might be a little cute story for a B plot of an episode. It's not enough for an A plot of a whole episode, and we're gonna break down on my thoughts about why. So starting out here, we get an establishing shot of the house that Ellie and Joel are in at the moment, and we see these tracks here on the snow. You can't see my cursor. Hang on. There you go. So these tracks here, if you play the game, you know why that's there. Basically, she put Joel on this little sled thing and dragged him along. I don't know if we're going to see that next episode, but that's why that's there. It might be kind of confusing if you didn't see the game. You're like, why are there tracks there? I don't know. You could probably see it in the background of one of these shots here, but it might be a little bit confusing. Yeah, she drags him on the sleeping bag and everything. So it might be a little bit confusing to see that. And honestly, in the game, it looked a little bit ridiculous. They kind of added that into the DLC to explain how Ellie survived here on her own. That was something that they skipped over this part in the original game. And like I said, I think that was the right decision. This storyline is not essential, and it feels kind of random to have this flashback here. We'll get into it a little bit. So Joel was injured at the end of the last episode, and Ellie is trying her best to save him, and Joel wants her to leave. And, I think that's a good dilemma. That's what Joel would do. It's very true to the character. And Ellie is thinking about it, and then she runs up the stairs, and she grabs this doorknob, and that's supposed to be the cliffhanger for the episode, basically the A plot with Joel and Ellie. And to me, this doesn't work at all, because you're supposed to think, oh, maybe she actually did leave him. First of all, everybody knows that she didn't, so it's not really that much of a cliffhanger. We know that she's not going to leave him. That would be stupid. And we also know that she did not take him down this way. She did not enter the house from upstairs and then go downstairs. There's no way she would have dragged his ass all the way down the stairs, step by step. For what purpose? For no purpose. She didn't enter the house this way, so her leaving this way makes no sense for a cliffhanger. We already know that she's not leaving him at this moment because she didn't enter the house this way, right? And we just know that. So here we're flashing back to Ellie in her Fedra school days, and she's getting bullied and picked on, and it's the most stereotypical shit ever. I don't know, nothing about that scene really got me going. It's kind of annoying. There's this weird flickering effect. She's got a Walkman on and nobody else has got one. Like, why does she have that? I don't know. It's just kind of random. And then she's talking to her superior, the guy in charge, Wong, I believe is how you pronounce that. And, basically she's been in trouble before. And, he's like, we've punished you. We put you in the hole, which usually means solitary confinement. And it hasn't worked, so I'm going to try something different. Now, they want us to believe that the Fedra are these bad, terrible people, and yet this guy is very lax, or that's how it appears. So it's kind of hard for me to believe that they're this fascist dickbags, as they say like 5 times in this episode. Like, can you learn another word? Maybe get a thesaurus out? I don't know. But yeah, so I don't know. It kind of undercuts the whole, Fedra's evil and the Fireflies are the good guys. At least that's what they want us to think at this point. Of course, we've seen Fedra hanging people and doing terrible things in the past, and we saw all those corpses, etc. They've done a lot to set up the Fedra are evil, but in this particular episode, it just seems contradictory, but I get they're trying to go for that dilemma. Ellie sees the potential in Fedra, that things can get better, that she can become a leader and all that. But he's like, you're smart, I believe in you, and you're the greatest thing ever. What is so special about her? Can you come up with an example? What about her made her so smart or so special, etc.? Maybe if you brought up her test scores, maybe if you brought up something that she did. I don't know. I'm instantly like, I don't really care about this storyline at all. And then there's this really weird thing that he does. He's like, you got 2 paths. And of course it's a call back or call forward. Foreshadowing is the right word, dummy. It's foreshadowing for later when Riley's like, oh, you got 2 options. But he just picks random things and he's like, this is option A, and this is option B. I don't know what that does for me. Or, like, I guess it's a key so it unlocks things. It doesn't seem like symbolic. It just seems like, oh, we're in a visual medium. We need to have something visual. And they wanted to I do appreciate the little Naughty Dog reference, but it seems random. Like, why is there a picture of a dog's paw on there? I don't know. So that scene didn't really work for me. Whatever, that's fine. And then, we've already gone many, many minutes in the episode, and nothing so far has really impressed me. We see Ellie's room, and whatever, and then lights out, and then Riley breaks in, and this scene is very similar to the source material, but I gotta say, it's a little bit overly aggressive. There's too much arguing early on, and I'm like, I hate these characters, man. I hate Ellie in this episode. They grow on me towards the end, I will admit. There's good scenes here and there that I like. We'll get to that as we break it down. But in this scene, it's just like, it's just annoying. I don't know. Maybe you guys like it, maybe you don't. And then they're breaking out, and they're gonna go on this journey, this date or whatever. They find this dead body, and then he's got some booze, and I don't know why we need the booze. Is the booze supposed to endear them to us? And I don't know, like, I get it. I was a teenager at one point. I drank when I wasn't supposed to, etc., blah, blah, blah. Whatever, we all did that. But at the same time, it doesn't automatically endear the characters to me. It's like, oh, it's so relatable. It's like, it's so random. And this guy, it's implied that by Ellie that he killed himself. He took pills and then drank this very expensive booze from pre-apocalypse times that probably cost a lot of his money. Now, I get it. He's killing himself. He doesn't need his money for anything. But if he was gonna, maybe he would have wanted to enjoy it a bit more. I don't know. It just, like, wouldn't you just do whatever? Like, I don't know. I guess it's supposed to be, like, his romantic death or something. I don't know. And then the body falls through the floor, and they're laughing and all that. I'm indifferent to it. I don't really care. And then we get a backstory, like, is that the first body you ever saw, Riley? And then she talks about her parents dying, and that they throw in the family thing later in the episode. Riley's like, oh, you don't know what it's like to have a family, etc. And I wish they delved deeper into that. There's so many, like, little seeds of stories here that they could have pulled on. But one problem with this is that it feels so random. It's just like, we're just throwing this story in here to fill space. Whereas in the original game, it was like Ellie was taking care of Joel in a mall. So the fact that she was in a mall, she was thinking about the past where she had this experience in the mall, and it made a lot more sense. It didn't feel as random. There was a reason why we were having flashbacks. There is no reason. They could have had this at any point in the show. This could have been the first episode. Like, there's no reason why this story needs to happen now, you know? And honestly, like, even the video game didn't think that this story was strong enough for a whole DLC. Of course, we had to have combat in the original game, but I would have liked to see a little bit more of Ellie surviving the winter on her own. I would have liked to see her trying to fight people off, or it would have been a lot more interesting to have a situation where Joel and Ellie were being followed by people, and she had to stay quiet and hide and sneak around. We could have an exciting episode. I would have rather had that than this, to be honest with you. And and this is where we learn that Riley has joined the Fireflies, and that's one of the major conflicts of this episode is, obviously they're on opposite sides of a conflict, and they get a little bit into that. Fascist dickbags. How many times are you going to say that in a row? And then they get to the mall and they break in and all that. And then there's Power. She goes in here and turns the lights on. Here's where I'm going to praise the episode. Production design is stellar. Amazing production design. It looks incredible. They really dressed up this set, this mall, to look authentic. It's definitely aged up like how it should be, and it looks very destroyed, and the vines growing, all that. It looks great. And a lot of people, I heard in some other reviews, people mentioning that they use real brands in the show, and people are saying it's product placement. Maybe it is. I doubt it. In my opinion, the use of real brands gives it a bit extra authenticity. I actually like them using real brands. The fact that we see The Gap, that we see Best Buy, that we see Subway, all this stuff makes it feel in our world. So I actually appreciate it. And they could have easily done fake brands, but why? There's no real reason to. So I'm perfectly okay with them using real brands, but that's just, at the end of the day, not essential. I actually like this part with the escalator, and them goofing around. It's kind of fun. The cute to cringe ratio, it's a bit too much cringe for me. You gotta have a little bit of cringe in there with the cute love story stuff, but it's a little bit too much cringe for me. But yeah, like this episode, it just goes on way too long. And of course, they have there's one part here where they're looking at the stores and they're talking about looters. And she's like, people wanted sneakers and not bars of soap. I hate to break it to you, sneakers are more useful than soap. I mean, a bar of soap will only last you so long. Yes, it can help you prevent infection. That's probably the most useful thing for it. I probably wouldn't use soap unless I had an open wound in this world, because who knows when you're going to run across soap next, right? But your shoes are always going to be useful, because there might be glass, there might be rocks that are going to cut your feet up. And yes, your feet will callous over time, but sneakers, if they wanted to make the point that, people are going after trivial stuff, they should have gone after like TVs or something that obviously isn't going to be useful in an apocalypse. But, that's a minor point. And then they look at some Victoria's Secret stuff, and it's like, I don't know, I feel like this is like a feminist thing, and they're like, oh, it's so uncomfortable, why would people want to wear that, or whatever. And then, she's like, I'm trying to picture you in one of those, which is kind of funny, but obviously kind of beating you over the head with the romance angle, which, I think we could have used a bit more subtlety at this point. It would have been stronger, I think, if you didn't expect that. But this episode is just very predictable in general. So, and then we got the hand holding. And like I said, with the Victoria's Secret thing already, we already know they're romantically interested in each other. It's a bit much if you want to have a full episode of this. It would have been nice to have, a bit more ambiguity at the beginning. But anyways, they're riding this carousel. One of the other problems I have with this is, in the game where this was a DLC package, we didn't really see much of the old world in the Last of Us game. This is not as powerful as it was in the original game. Even though I was so-so on it originally, but in the original game, this was a lot more meaningful because we didn't just come from Jacksonville, where they're is a full functioning society with electricity and communism, which kills people, by the way. But anyways, so yeah, it's not as interesting or exciting when we've seen all this electricity stuff before. But it's whatever. So they're riding the carousel, they're having a good time, and then they bring the booze out again, and it's just so unnecessary to have the booze. But we're kind of, I'm repeating myself at this point. It's getting redundant. And then we get to the arcade scene, and here's a scene that just plain old was way better in the video game. And one of my problems with the original video game DLC is, all the new interesting story stuff was not interactive. It was just all cutscenes, so it wasn't really like meant for a game, in my opinion. And here we have a visual medium that's passive, doesn't need that interactive element, and yet they did the cutscene better originally. In the original game, the machine was not working, and they had to imagine what the game was like. And it was actually this really kind of beautiful moment. And you could see the imagination that Ellie had, and the lights lighting up her face, the lights that she's imagining. I really liked that original scene. Although it did go a little too long in the original game too, but I don't think it's as fun to watch them play the game, but maybe it is for some people. I don't know if you like Mortal Kombat. I guess it might be kind of cool. I don't know. I wouldn't I'm putting myself in it. If it was like a Halo machine, which is a game I care about, I wouldn't really care. So I don't know who that's trying to appeal to. But, and then we pan over, and of course we got a zombie. We know that they're going to get bit in this episode. We know that's the whole point of this episode. In the original game, we had a whole horde of zombies. Much more exciting. Now we got one. At least it looks awesome. Like, look at that. It looks very cool. Again, 2 thumbs up. For a zombie show that has almost no zombies, they at least make them look good. So I appreciate that. That's another complaint I'm going to throw in here. It's a zombie show with almost no zombies, and people have been shit-talking The Walking Dead for so long that it's a soap opera. It's not a zombie show, it's a soap opera. This show is a soap opera. This one is. There's almost no zombies. There's been like 3 zombie scenes in this whole show, dude. The Walking Dead, you could say it's a soap opera. I accept that. I actually like that element of it. They have gore in The Walking Dead. They have action scenes on almost every episode. They have zombie kills on almost every episode. They don't do that on the show, and it's really, really kind of a disappointment, especially like we're supposed to be getting the brutality of this world. We're supposed to be getting the ruthlessness of everything. And we have so few scenes showing that. We have so few brutal scenes. They're almost afraid to show the violence for whatever reason. I don't understand it. Whatever. They're more interested in this kind of stuff. Honestly, the love story they had before was in episode 3 was so much more interesting than this. They had so much more going for it, and it had a surprise, an element of surprise. Wow, who would have guessed having a less predictable storyline would make it better? I don't know. I guess I really am negative on this episode, aren't I? And here we got the pun book, which again is straight from the source material, and that's all fun and stuff. But I don't know. I don't really care that much about it. It was cute already. They're kind of double dipping on the pun book at this point. And then here we find Ellie finds some bombs that Riley made for the Fireflies, and it's really kicking in. Oh, you're gonna kill me or people like me, and she's angry about it. And I can appreciate that part. I could have really done without that element. There's a bit more innocence to the source material because they were younger originally. I think they were like 14. Maybe they're supposed to be 14, but they just feel a little bit older, especially with the drinking and whatnot. There's a bit more innocence to it originally. But yeah, so we have our lovers quarrel here, and now we learn that Riley is supposed to move to Boston, or move out of Boston rather, and it's the tragic nature of that. And I like this lovers quarrel and whatnot, and she runs off, and then she regrets it and runs back. This part all works. I'm not going to complain about that. I like this scene here. Actually, this is probably the best scene in the episode, where they are, they're working through that issue, that they're saying goodbye for real in a non-angry way. It did feel a little bit that fake out where she's screaming, especially since we saw the zombie already. they have a fake out and then they have the zombie show up. It's just, I don't know. It's just a little annoying. I don't know. But I do like the emotional temper of the scene is pretty good. And then we have this dancing scene with the masks and whatnot, and they're having fun again, and then they're dancing, and then, I mean, it's a little, it's cringe. It is cringe. But then they have their, the don't go scene, which, has that emotional payoff. Best scene of the episode. Definitely moving. It's kind of hard not to feel for that. And then they have their kiss moment, and she's really excited about, this new era of their relationship, and of course makes it all the tragic when the bite happens. But again, it's very predictable. I mean, it is straight out of The Walking Dead. It's like, oh, they're having a moment of happiness? Okay, they're about to die right now. Really on the nose with that, and that's true of the source material too. The DLC, that's one of the weaknesses of it, in my opinion. I almost wish that they started at the bite, or had like a brief scene and then started at the bite, and then the whole episode was like them turning or whatever, and Ellie discovering that she's actually immune. That to me is almost more interesting. But we skipped over the photo booth stuff before. But do we really need 4 wonders? Like, honestly, we could have cut some out. I think we could have cut out maybe the photo booth. The carousel is visually more interesting than the photo. The photo booth it is cute though. I mean, these are difficult scenes to act. So I got to give the actors some props here. It's not easy to do what they did. And I think the actor for Riley is fine. But I don't know. I just wasn't really all that into the characters. I knew from the beginning it wasn't going to be my favorite episode because I wasn't all that impressed with the DLC, And then they have the fight, the brief scuffle, which I thought was decently well done. But again, it was better in the source material where they're chased by a horde, and it's a lot more visually interesting. But we got one zombie, and at least it looks amazing, and the zombie kill was cool. I'm down with the action scene. It was pretty basic, but, it works. And then Ellie's all excited because she thinks that she killed it and that everything's fine. And it's kind of reminiscent of how she was laughing at the dead body earlier, despite the seriousness of the situation. I guess that's what they're going for. I don't really know. And this is when the tragedy happens. And then we're cutting back to Ellie, the cliffhanger we had earlier with Joel. And she's like, no, I'm not leaving you. But we already talked about why that's kind of dumb. And she's looking for something. Now, in the original game, she was looking for medicine in the mall. And there was a lot of cool stuff there. There was like a helicopter in the mall that she had to go to, and then she fell out and all this stuff, and had to fight some guys that were tracking them from people that Joel killed earlier. The people wanted revenge on him, so they tracked him down. Honestly, all that stuff is a lot more interesting to me. But here we got the scene where it's like we have 2 options. We can take the easy way out, or we can lose our minds together. And this is like, why didn't we play this out? We're here on TV. We don't need to have gameplay and whatnot. And I don't know. It's like a full episode dedicated to their little date or whatever. I just didn't really care that much, honestly. But yeah, I mean, it's a tragic scene. I'm not going to deny that. And she finds some thread, and she's going to tie up his wounds. And she's like, I'm not leaving you. Which, I like this scene, but again, it just feels like not enough for me. So that's the episode, guys. I was honestly bored out of my gourd, checking my watch. I know a lot of people are probably going to be feeling differently, but I think that they double dipped on the love storylines for the season, and the first one was way better. So I would take that over this any day. But let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. I'm sure everybody's going to hate me for this review. I was pretty positive on the previous episode, but at this point, the illusion has kind of been broken, and this show is it's just not as good as the game, in my opinion. We're, skipping past so much of the story that I found interesting, and there's no brutality to it. There's a lot missing. So I don't know. I just want to go play the first game again. I don't even really care about watching the last 2 episodes. That's like where I'm at this point, and it makes me sad. But let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. I'll see you guys next week. I will be reviewing it, and I anticipate liking the next episode more. So if you are mad at me just wait till next week. I'll probably like it more. But yeah, with that, it's been your boy Shuggy, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Thanks for watching, everybody. Peace out.